everyone, it's Melody Snowflake. It's so good to be back and making a video like this again. It's been 9 years since I last did a Q&A video, and back then there was less than 100 subscribers on the channel, and it was pretty wild. I think I only did it back then because I wanted to know what it was like. But here I am now, and I'm ready to answer your questions. I hope you guys had a good Pride Month or a good month of June in general if you don't celebrate that. I am sorry I disappeared for so long, and we're going to get started in just a moment. Before I start answering questions, for those who don't really know what's going on, back in the beginning of June, I posted on YouTube and on my socials that I'll be hosting a 2-week-long Q&A session on my Discord server. There was a special channel made just for this, and I was excited and prepared to answer basically any question you guys might have for me. This was because I had been gone for about 2 months or so, during which I was really sick and just couldn't record or make videos, and I felt like I wanted to do something special upon coming back. So here we are now. There wasn't a limit on how many questions a person could ask, so there are a few situations where there are questions asked, like multiple questions asked by the same person, and that's completely okay. I'm really excited to answer all of them. I haven't actually seen a question here that I am uncomfortable with asking, so I'll be answering all of them. So let's get started. Just a little heads up, I am using a screen reader to read these questions, so you won't hear it, but I might have to rephrase/paraphrase the questions as I read them out loud to you guys, since literally talking over my screen reader is a little tricky, and I might accidentally say, like something over the actual screen reader that's reading the questions out loud to me. So if I am not reading the question exactly word for word, I apologize, but I will be answering them as accurately and closely to the original question as I can. Also, if you hear anything in my background, I actually just got some birds with me right now. We got some pet birds recently, so they're just in the same room as me while I record. So if you hear that, that's why. All right, so this video isn't scripted, as you can probably tell. Let's get started. The first question is from B, who asked me, if you were able to travel either forward or backward in time without the possibility of changing history or affecting the future, which time period would you choose from the past, or what do you think the future would look like and why? All right, let's see. Whenever I think about time travel questions, I always think about paradoxes, but since you said that this particular scenario does not allow me to affect the past or change the future in any way, then I'd say I'd probably travel to the future. Yeah, I think I'll travel to the future. I've always been a very curious, scientific kind of person, so I've watched a lot of science videos growing up, and they had so many predictions about what technology would be like in the future, and like how the world would develop, what would happen, climate change, what kind of situation we'll be in 100 years, 200 years. So I think I would love to travel to the future to see that. As for exactly which time period, well, obviously, since it's the future, there haven't been specific time periods laid out yet, but I'll probably want to travel into the year like 2100 or 2200, and I'm like really interested to see what kind of advancements in technology would have been made by then. If I had to predict it, I'd say maybe there'd be a lot more machines, like robots, around the world, and there would be hopefully a lot of advancements in the medical field. Maybe they would have found treatments that we don't have today that that make medical treatment a lot more bearable, especially for people with more complicated or painful diagnoses like cancer or anything else that's a little bit difficult to deal with. I think the future might look like that, with like more machinery everywhere, and more advanced medicine. But who knows what the future would really be like. We won't live long enough to be in 2200, so I guess I'll never really know. But one can hope for the best for everyone. So yeah. All right, next question, also from B. What is your favorite home-cooked meal? What is your favorite meal to eat out? So that's technically 2 questions in one, but it's all about food, so I can see why you put it in one. So, my favorite home-cooked meal. I think my favorite, and this is more of because we have a family recipe, is whenever my mom makes spaghetti. So I'm hoping to learn how she makes it because I love how she makes it. So I'd say that would be my favorite of the home-cooked dishes that I've had throughout my life, my mom's spaghetti. What's my favorite thing to eat out? Wow. I guess there isn't really one thing. It depends on how I'm feeling at the time. But most of the time, I'd probably get a burger or maybe something to do with like chicken or sausages. I don't have a specific dish that I love to eat out all the time, but a lot of the things I do eat involve that kind of stuff. All right, and 3. If I could spend a day with any F/O, that stands for fictional other, for those who don't know. Any fictional other that you choose, who would you spend the day with, and what do you think that day would look like? So a fictional other, for those who aren't familiar with the term, is what you call a fictional character who you have a crush on and like to picture yourself in a relationship with. I haven't posted much about that here on YouTube, but there are some characters who I really, really want to hang out with, and even fewer of them, but there are still a small portion of those characters who I want to hang out with, who I do have crushes on. So I think for now, as of July 2026, my answer would be Usopp from One Piece. He is my current favorite character. We are both energetic people, and we're both the kind of people who like to create and just, talk all the time. So I think I'd love to spend the day with him. As for what that day might look like, I feel like we'd just be talking a lot. We'd probably be outside somewhere because he loves the outdoors, and I'd probably want to just go somewhere where that he enjoys because, I only have that one day, so I want to do something that he likes. So we'd probably go somewhere that he enjoys, maybe the beach, maybe just an outdoor park or something. We'd be talking all the time. Maybe we just have fun, maybe play some games, do some fun, simple activities. He'd probably show me his inventions because he creates a lot of things, and I would probably show him the stuff I like to create, which is more in the arts industries type stuff, like music and things like that. I don't know if he's really into super detailed things when it comes to that kind of thing, but at the very least he might enjoy listening to music, so I think we'd have some fun there. We'd just hang out and just spend some time together, and it would be a really laughter-filled day. And he'd tell me a lot of his adventures, quote unquote. He likes to make them up a lot in the show, so I'd be listening and enjoying the stories and laughing along, and it would be really awesome. All right, thanks for your questions, B. I hope I was able to answer them in a way that made sense. I know some of the questions I was let me think about that, but I think that for some of them I hope that some of them was at least some of them made sense. All right, moving on to the next person. Neru/Lena asks, 1. What are my favorite movie genres? I think I like movies that are... I like animated movies for one thing. So a lot of the movies I like to watch are animated. Not to say that I haven't watched live action movies. I have. But a lot of the movies I do watch are animated. But of course, within animated movies, there are also a lot of different genres. So I'd say fantasy, adventure, a little bit of action, a touch of romance, but mostly fantasy adventure, I'd say, if I had to pick just, one. All right. Second question from Neru. Besides fairies, what other fantasy creatures do you adore? So a little bit of context, because I, once again, don't talk about it on the channel very much, but my favorite mythical creatures are fairies, and because of that, I talk about it on the Discord server sometimes. So Nero just wants to know what other mythical fantasy creatures I love apart from fairies. And the answer to that is actually unicorns. I love unicorns, and I love mermaids. I love unicorns and mermaids. And if I had to pick a fourth one, I think dragons would be next, which is such a shift from the, the category that the first three fall into. But yeah, so if I had to pick, first it's fairies, then unicorns, mermaids, and then dragons. I'd say those are my favorite mythical beings. And the third question from Nero is opinion on motivational songs. I love motivational songs. I listen to them sometimes when I'm feeling down, and I send them to people sometimes when I think that it would really help. But mostly I just have a whole playlist of motivational songs. In fact, sometimes when I do songwriting, I try to put a little bit of inspirational/motivational themes in them, because I'm the kind of person who always believes that music is meant to, connect with people. It's like one of those things that has a universal language, and when people listen to songs and music, they can connect with the themes of said song or music, like if it's the kind of song that does that. So I really like motivational songs, and I even try to put that kind of thing in my own originals, because I think it's very powerful and very important to have songs like that. The example you gave is Drag Me Down by One Direction, and I do like that one. Actually, there was a time I listened to that a lot. But that was probably because I had a One Direction phase when I was 14. Alright, so fourth question and last question from Neru. Thoughts on J-pop or Vocaloid songs? I actually love J-pop and Vocaloid. I don't particularly listen to any specific bands or anything, but I do like the genre in general, and a lot of the time whenever I get introduced to a new J-pop or Vocaloid song, I do appreciate how it sounds. In fact, I got introduced to Vocaloid way before I even started watching anime in earnest, and I really liked it. So I had a few Vocaloid songs I really adored back then too, and it got me into the kind of sound that Japanese music has, and I really like how Japanese music as a whole sounds. So yeah, I really enjoy them. Alright, moving on to questions from Oracore Studios. Do I have any favorite indie animated series apart from Glitch Productions and Helliverse? By Glitch Productions, I'm guessing you mean Amazing Digital Circus, and of course the Helliverse, Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. I actually haven't seen much of Hell of a Boss, by the way, if anyone's wondering about that. I have seen all of Has-Been Hotel that's been out so far, but I haven't seen much of Hell of a. I have finished all of Amazing Digital Circus, though. As for what other indie animated series I enjoy, I love Art of Murder. It's really, really good. If you haven't seen it, there's only one episode out so far. It is just the pilot, but it is amazing. It basically pays tribute to fandoms as a whole and the many different types of medias that a person can be a fan of. I really love that about Art of Murder. And I also enjoyed the Solar Balls series, which is a series, animated series about planets and outer space in general. So it's like, the the characters are all like planets, like the planets of the solar system, or like the sun, and space objects in general. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm the kind of person who's always enjoyed scientific content, so I've always wanted a show about planets and stars and solar balls. It's an indie animated series that is literally about that. They have an astronaut character too, and he shows up from time to time. He's kind of freaked out by the fact that all the planets can talk, though. It's kind of fun. All right. Next question. I know there are more questions from Oracore that are asked later on, but before we get to that, we have a question from my best friend Fire Art, who asks, what are your favorite plushies? My favorite plushies. Ooh. So, if you've been following me long enough, you probably know that I collect plushies of all kinds, mostly character plushies. And if you haven't heard about that before, then yeah, it's a fun fact about me. I collect plushies of characters from animated media, and even just of any characters I like. My favorite plushies at the moment are plushies of my favorite characters. So I have a plushie of Usopp, who I carry around all the time. He is actually made by a plush maker. He was actually commissioned and customized by a plush artist who I know named Cameron. And Cameron sometimes opens up commissions. So I commissioned a custom Usopp from him, and he turned out so good. He's so soft. I carry him around everywhere. And I have a plushie of the character Dobby from My Hero Academia. He is a plushie from the Great Eastern Entertainment line, so he's an officially licensed anime plushie, and I love him. I don't know what it is. I just got really attached to that plushie when I started loving his character in the show, and I carry him around every now and then too. So there you go. Those are my favorite plushies, and I bring them around a lot. I take pictures with them sometimes. If you follow me on Instagram, you might see those pictures occasionally when I post them, or if you follow me on my side channel, you might notice that I sometimes talk about like plushies and show them off. In fact, I had videos posted about these precise plushies earlier in the year. Actually, you know what, now that I think about it, I should probably leave links to all my socials in the description. I normally do that anyway, but even more so, I should probably do that now because I keep talking about all the things that I post everywhere else. All right. Next question is also from a close friend of mine, from Night of Breath. Is there a specific piece of media, anime, movie, book, etc., you find yourself revisiting when you're feeling nostalgic? I actually always visit things from my childhood when I'm feeling nostalgic. So if I'm ever feeling like, hey, I'm in a particularly nostalgic mood today, the kind of mindset I go back to is how I felt when I was a kid. So when I was like 12 years old or even younger. So in those cases, I look up shows that I used to watch back then, like the 2003 version of Strawberry Shortcake. I used to enjoy that when I was around 10. And I even go all the way back to shows I liked when I was like 5 years old and just revisit things like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or even Barney and Friends when I'm feeling particularly nostalgic. I don't do that kind of stuff too often, but when I do, I can go into nostalgia land for hours. It's just nice to revisit things from your childhood every now and then. Alright, next question. This is by Baden Blue Dash, who comments on my videos a lot. Hi, Baden. It's great to see you here. Alright, so there are a few questions from Baden. First question is, what My Little Pony character do you... Wait, hang on, what's this? Do you most enjoy? Sorry. So what My Little Pony character do you most enjoy, and how much can you relate to them? I most enjoy Starlight Glimmer. She is my favorite pony. I used to say Fluttershy if you had asked me all those years ago. I think in my original Q&A video back in 2017, I said that my favorite was Fluttershy. But my favorite has since become a Starlight Glimmer. I really like reformed villains and complicated characters, and Starlight pretty much fits the mold. As for how much I can relate to them, well, The thing about reformed villains is that they are relatable sometimes. Even though their actions are a lot more extreme than real world examples, everyone has that feeling of regret at some point in their life when they make a mistake and push people away and or things along those lines. So I definitely can relate to Starlight in that regard. I've definitely done things when I was younger that I am not proud of, and because of that, I do connect with her journey of just trying to better herself and make new friends after experiencing the consequences of losing old ones due to past mistakes. In fact, when I first started this channel, I was recovering from something like that, and this was like 10 years ago now. But when I was in my early teens, I definitely had an experience where there were close people in my life, and then one day there just weren't anymore, and it was due to actions that I couldn't take back. So I definitely regret those things, and I relate to her journey of regretting them too, and reconciling with people and making new friends. All right, second question from Baden. What is your favorite moment in Harry Potter? I am a Harry Potter reader I was a Harry Potter reader from the age of 9. So this is a series that I've enjoyed growing up. But because of that, picking a favorite moment is hard. You guys might not know that I'm into Harry Potter because it's not something I talk about very often. But like I mentioned, I have been reading it since I was a little kid, and choosing a favorite singular moment is hard, and it would require me to give a lot of spoilers for those who have not read the books. But if I had to just pick something more general, I guess I do love most of the 4th book, Goblet of Fire, and a lot of the moments there are some of my ultimate favorites. So for example, I love reading about the first task in that one. Harry and how he handled that first task is definitely one of my favorite moments. I also love, just throughout the 7 books in general, I love reading about the Quidditch matches and how those go. And if I had to pick other moments that are not, him on a broomstick or doing any kind of sporting activity, I do just like anything that involves a group of main characters doing cool stuff together. Like, for example, the DA from the 5th book. I won't elaborate what that is for spoiler reasons, but if you know what the DA is, then yeah, I loved that. That was great. All right. More questions from Baden later, but now we have a question from Danielson742, who also comments on my videos a lot. Thank you, by the way, Danielson. All right. So his question is, before recording session, whether it be laying down some fiery vocals or some epic VA work, thank you, by the way, that's really sweet of you to say. Do you have a favorite snack or drink you enjoy before the session? No, I don't think I actually snack or drink before recording. That's mostly because when I try to record, I want to be able to lock in, and it's kind of hard to do that when I just ate and I feel really comfortable and I just want to relax. So I don't normally snack before I record. And as for drinks, I just normally have some water with me because I definitely need that for my voice when I've been talking or singing for a long time. So no, I don't actually have any snacks that I have before sessions, or drinks for that matter. All right. Next question is from Nile. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Another person who's been really supportive. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it looks like a lot of the questions they asked are about original songs I've written. So let's get started on some of these. So there'll be lots of song titles here that I posted all the way back from like 2018. Wow. I didn't actually think many people listened to those. So once again, thanks for watching them. So your questions are: 1. In the songs A Friend Like You, A Better Me, and I'll Be There are recurring melodies that sound very similar to the song Friendship. Is this just a coincidence, or was it intentional? I actually looked through these songs before I came to record for this Q&A, and it might just be me, but I haven't actually found any similarities in how they sound to the song Friendship. So if you hear any of those, it's definitely a coincidence, because that was definitely not intentional. Those 3 songs were written years after the song Friendship, and it was at a completely different era of my life. So I actually did not, if anything, I was trying to make them as different as possible from the song Friendship. So if you hear any recurring melodies from that, it was definitely a coincidence, since I was trying to write the songs in such a way that they would be different. Didn't even notice that. Alright, that's really interesting. So, next question. A logical chronology seems to be building across those mentioned songs. Do your original songs tell one cohesive story? Nope. Each song is actually telling an individual story. I don't have many songs that actually relate to one another. I think I can think of 2 songs I've written throughout the last few years that actually connect. But for the most part, each song is intended to tell its own story, because each song I write is either for a single experience or a single person or character. So a lot of the time, each song is talking about something or someone completely different. So they aren't really telling a story, but they might seem to connect because I write them based on real life experiences in my life. And since I write them at different times, depending on what I'm going through, if you put them next to each other and you try to deduce and find patterns, I can see why it might look like there is some kind of chronology or story. But no, each song actually tells its own story and doesn't connect to each other. And as for those 4 songs in particular, they definitely aren't connected. I can actually talk a little bit about what they're about. So, A Friend Like You is for a really close friend of mine who I am still friends with today, Alice Ektorka, or as she was once known as Alice the Pony Actress. That was the song thanking her for what she's done for me. A Better Me was written in response to a few formal friends who aren't necessarily friends with me anymore, and it's basically just a song that was written to tell them that, hey, you know what, I'm over that, I'm good. I'll Be There was written for another formal friend turned acquaintance of mine who at the time was going through something personal, and I told them that I would be there for them no matter what. So 3 completely different people. Friendship was written all the way back when I used to be friends with those formal friends, and it was written for one of them. So completely different. All right. So next question, also from Nile. What is your MBTI personality type? I am an ENFP. I've taken the test a few times, and I usually get ENFP. The last time I tried to take it, the N turned into an S, but I've never really connected with what the S part represents. So I still consider myself an ENFP. In fact, I connect with a lot of ENFP type characters, so I think I'm pretty, if I had to pick an MBTI personality type for myself without taking any of the quizzes or tests, I would still pick that because I connect the most with what an ENFP represents. For example, I've seen a lot of fandoms try to decide what personality type characters are. And for example, Pinkie Pie is considered an ENFP. I adore that. And she definitely is one of the most relatable pony characters to me, even though she's not my favorite. She's one of my favorites, but she's not my absolute favorite. but I thought that would be a fun fact to throw in there because I know Baden also asked about my favorite ponies. And since you asked also about relatability, Pinkie Pie is actually the pony I relate to the most. But anyway, I'm sidetracking. Usopp from One Piece is also considered an ENFP or ESFP by the fandom, depending on who you ask. I personally think he's an ENFP, and I connect with him. So, yep, I feel like I am an ENFP. So third question from Nilly, or I guess fourth question, because the second question from Nilly was labeled as question 1.5 because they were related. But anyway, do your MHA and MLP projects differ in their core purpose? For example, MHA focusing more on lore/world building, while MLP is tailored for songs. Well, if you mean projects in terms of covers, and just the videos I often post on the channel in general, then I guess they don't really have a purpose. A lot of the time when I try to post videos on the channel, I really just do what I love. So I cover songs mostly from media that I enjoy, and one of the reasons you see a lot of pony covers from me is because I started this channel with pony content and want to bring it back every now and then. So there isn't really a particular focus where I'm like, I only want to do songs for MLP content, but because I do covers in general, and I started this channel with pony covers, that's why you see a lot of my pony content being covers, because that's the core nature of the channel. As for my MHA projects, I have a few MHA covers, but I'm guessing you're referring to the Class 2B project, which I have promoted on this channel a few times, even though it's not really posted here quite as much. The Class 2B project isn't actually mine. The Class 2B project is created by my best friend and co-creator Fire Art, though in this case, I am actually the co-creator because she made the OCs and characters, and I'm just kind of helping with the writing process. It has a different theme from covers simply because obviously the Class 2B project is more of a series, so it's more story based, but it's not intended to explore lore or world building. It's really just to tell the story of 21 original characters and how they live their lives in the My Hero Academia universe. If you're curious what the Class 2B project is, I'll link a playlist in the description for anyone who's curious to check it out. But yeah, the Class 2B project, which is related to My Hero Academia /MHA, it doesn't really have a purpose in terms of lore or world building. It isn't even technically my project. I'm just the writer for it, really. It's more of a project of a few original characters created by my friend Fire Art, and we just explore their lives and their relationships. So they aren't really related. My covers and my pony covers are part of a bigger just category of videos in general on my channel, since this is a cover YouTube channel for the most part. So they are closer to what I aim to produce on here. The Class 2B / My Hero Academia project is a side thing I'm working on as a writer, and therefore it's posted elsewhere, and it explores the lives of 21 OCs. Next question, also from Nilly. What was happening behind the scenes, or what inspired you? And what inspired you before and during the creation of "It's Not Your Place" and "Touch the Starlight"? These are two more original songs that I wrote, and they were released more recently. "It's Not Your Place" isn't a happy story, and I can't really talk too much about that without divulging information that isn't mine to divulge, since it's not actually something about me. I basically had someone I knew who was in a difficult situation, and the people who were hurting them were kind of making me upset. So I wrote a song to basically express those emotions in a healthier way, because otherwise I'd just be going through a lot of frustration by myself. just from watching my friends suffer. Touch the Starlight actually has a happier story because I wrote a few songs for the Class 2B project, as mentioned, as described earlier. So the project where, there are a bunch of My Hero Academia OCs. And as I was writing those songs, I realized that I haven't actually written many songs for myself, for my own channel, and just for my own, my own personal use, that are faster, more cheerful, and just more uplifting while also being energetic. So I tried to write a song kind of like that, which is how Touch the Starlight came about. It's very, very loosely based off of someone I know, in the sense that I was trying to encourage them and remind them that they are loved and, all of that stuff. But it's not specifically about them. I just happened to be talking to them about things they were going through while I was writing the song, and a few tiny little things I want to say to them slipped into the lyrics. But for the most part, Touch the Starlight was simply intended to be kind of an experiment to see if I could write faster and more energetic songs if they weren't about a character. Alright. So, more questions from Nilly. I guess it's 2 questions in one. So, how do you usually approach making collab covers? Is it possible to do a collab cover with you? And if so, how? Well, I usually do collab covers with other singers or collaborators that I know. So I've actually known a lot of these people throughout the years. So since I've been working on YouTube for about 9 years, I have met a lot of people along the way. It originally started as me just trying to find people to sing with on Equestria Amino, an app that has long since been discontinued, but it was something that was a thing back in 2016, 2017. And I found people like Fire Art on there, and we had similar interest in doing YouTube videos, so we just kind of started there. And it kind of grew. The more I did videos, the more people with similar interests found them, or I found more people with similar interests since I was actively looking for them on social media. And we eventually just got to know each other and got to working together on videos. As for how to do a collab cover with me nowadays, usually if people want to work with me, they are more than welcome to send me an email. I have that in the description of every YouTube video. So most people, if you guys want to do a collab with me in any way for voice acting, for covers, you're more than welcome to send me an email about it, propose your idea, and we can discuss the details from there. It's definitely possible, and I have done things like that with people, and I still do things like that with people all the time if they want to work with me on their projects. If you're talking about doing covers on this channel, I mean, hey, if you have an idea, feel free to contact me and we can discuss further details. I can't guarantee, but if it's a song I'm familiar with, or if my schedule lines up, maybe we could work something out. It really depends. But the first step is always just reaching out. So feel free to leave me an email anytime you like. It's in the description. Or you could just join the Discord server that's also linked there, and you can message me on Discord. We can talk there too. Okay. If you were suddenly transported into the world of My Hero Academia or My Little Pony as your own OC, what would you do? Well, it depends on which world it is, but in general, the first thing I would try is flying, because my OCs in both My Hero Academia and My Little Pony have wings. I don't think you guys have seen my Hero Academia Sona yet. She's actually a fairy. She's a fairy version of my human Sona, so she has these glittery fairy wings. And of course, my pony OC is a Pegasus. So the first thing I would probably do if I entered either world is fly. I'd try to fly. After that, then it really depends, because for My Hero Academia, I have characters in that world who I really, really want to meet. So I'd probably try to find them. For MLP, My Little Pony, I'd probably just explore the area. Maybe go to Sugar Cube Corner, try some of the desserts there. They say it's really good, so I might try that. So yeah, it really depends on which world it is, but you know, I think the first thing I do is fly, and then after that we'll see how things go. Right. Next person who asks questions is Oracor again, and it says, let's see, if you have the chance to create an original story within a YouTube channel that are not fan-made covers and fan fiction, what would it be about? I love this question so much. When I first saw it, I got really excited because I haven't had a chance to talk about it on this channel yet. I've been planning an original series. It's still in its infancy, and I'm not going to lie, the story and the writing is still very, very shaky, and it's very, there's nothing really insane happening in it just yet. But I have created some characters for an original series that takes place in a fantasy world where it's all about fairies, but not the fairies you think of when you think of fairies in Disney movies. These fairies are closer to the kind of fairies you see in a magical girl show like Winged Club, where they are humans with fairy wings. But unlike Winged Club, where they can transform into fairies like magical girls, these fairies live with their wings. So they have them all the time, every day, every hour of the day. They can't remove them. It's just part of their anatomy. So they're human-sized fairies, and they live in this fantasy world. And at the moment, the running name for the series is Valeria, and it follows a girl who stumbles into this world, similar to how it happened in Our House, where the person just kind of accidentally goes into a fantasy world. And from there, she meets other fairy friends, and some hijinks ensues, and some, more like complicated plot stuff happens. I haven't decided all the details, but it involves, magical battles, deep character development and lore, and a lot of complexity. If I can make it happen, it would be great, but of course, animation is not something that I'm able to do, and it's going to take a long time to even get the concept fully developed. So this is not going to happen anytime soon, but it's definitely a plan I have. All right. Next question is by Baden Blue Dash again. What is your favorite thing you, Fire, and Night like to do when you're all hanging out together? This is probably a question that came out because me, Fire Art, and Night of Breath recently took a trip to Tokyo together, and there's actually a vlog video posted about that I shared a couple weeks ago, but it was a great trip. Anyway, because of that, I guess the three of us have kind of been seen hanging out a lot, so I guess that's why Baden's curious. For the three of us, we often just like to talk together. We sometimes would play games or watch something, but most of the time we just like hanging out and chatting. We like to talk about our favorite series and animes and video games, and just really have fun doing the things we enjoy, like, playing said video games or watching said anime. We just love each other's company, and hanging out with those two it's really great. And yeah, I love you guys if you two are watching right now. And of course, I have one last question here, which says it's from another user, but I'll keep them anonymous. The question is, what's your favorite food? And this is an easy one to answer because a lot of my friends would often tease me about it. But my favorite food is sausages. And they don't tease me about it because it's anything bad or funny. They tease me about it because it's so well known that I love sausages in the friend group that at this point, it's become kind of an inside joke. What do you want to have for dinner, Melody? Hey, there's sausage. I bet you want that. Guys, I know it's kind of infamous that I love them, but come on. Alright, that's all the questions, and this video has gone on for longer than I thought it would. Wow, I didn't realize there were this many. I hope I managed to answer all of them in a way that made sense to everyone, and if I missed anything, or if you're still curious for more information, I will be more than happy to answer them in the comments or even in the Discord server. I'd be more than happy to elaborate on any of these questions. Thank you so much for asking them, everyone, and thanks so much for watching to the end of the video. I'm so happy to be back, and I can't wait to be making more videos for you guys starting next week. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye!